Hello, everybody. Ella J here on behalf of WrestleZone, and today I am joined by your former Eve Tag Team Champion, Skye Smitson. How are you today?
I am amazing, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course, like I said off air, I have been watching your career for a hot minute. Actually, since the very first time I ever watched Eve was in 2019. So I've been watching you for a few years now. And now, speaking of Eve, you are now on track for a high stakes three-way match for both the Eve Championship and International Championship at Eve's Women Behaving Badly show on March 7th. Obviously, you're no stranger to both women you will be competing against. Nina Samuels will be defending both against you and Alex Windsor. I'm very excited for this. Before we get into the match itself, tell us about your past experiences with both competitors.
Uh, Nina, where do we start with Nina? God, what a pain. Um, so previously with Nina, she has ducked and dived me, uh, caused a disqualification in Eve, which I didn't know was possible, which is great. So she got inside my head. I'll say that. Like she got inside my head, which not a lot of people have been able to do in my career. But she found that one little trigger inside of me, and she made that switch go off. So she's always been able to be one step ahead of me. Um, Obviously, I was taken out backstage at one of the shows as well, and I was meant to face her. So
Yeah.
who knows if it was her? Who knows if it was Alex Windsor? Um, with Alex Windsor, I don't have like a very storied history. I faced her, I believe, twice, and I won both times. So you could say I've got a little bit of an advantage there.
Mhm.
And I'm technically the only person to have pinned Nina Samuels in like 2 years, Neve. So if we're going by that, they can play all the games they want, but I'm easily inside their heads, and if I want to, it's an effect, just like that. But I'm confident in it. It's two falls as well, so it's two opportunities to get two new titles that have been on my list for ages. So
It is a three-way as well. And typically in three ways, there's no countouts and no DQs. So I mean, granted, Nina could work that into her favor. She has some allies in her back pocket, but you could also have some tricks up your sleeve as well. It's kind of the benefit of a three-way, so you can fire back.
it's that ability to, if she triggers me, I can grab
Yeah.
a I can grab a chain. I love a good chain. Um, I mean, my tag partner's back from Japan, so I could
Yes.
even get her involved if she would. She's a bit of a goody two shoes at the moment. So
That's fair. But like you said, the first fall will be for the Eve Championship, whereas the second will be for the International Championship. So high stakes. Like you said, you could be walking out there with two championships. What are your general thoughts heading into this? We've talked a little bit about it, but you could have not one, but two titles coming out of this.
that's insane. That would be amazing. It's a weird one because it's you have to prepare for two people. You have to prepare for in some cases, like if we go to a time draw in both of them, like what's the
Yeah.
limitation there? Like, so physically you try and prepare for it by like upping your endurance. Mentally, you think, okay, what can I pull out of my trick bag of tricks that they don't know about, and how can I surprise them in one way or another, But it's great because it's testing. It's something that I think everyone in their career needs. They need a test. Um, but yeah, I've got a few little tricks up my sleeve that they
Good.
won't expect from me. So
Would one of those tricks be named Nightshade by any chance?
maybe she would take a lot of persuading though. She's on a high from Japan, and she loves Eve with a passion that
Yeah.
no one understands. So she doesn't like to break the rules. She used to, but she's goody two shoes.
Listen, I feel like in this exception, like two championships on the line, it would elevate both of you. I feel like she would, like, girl would be understanding.
She should. We are best friends. You do
Yeah.
anything with your best friends without asking.
So we'll have to see though, whether she plays a part in this or not. But like we alluded to, this title match was set up at the last event at Eve's Multiverse Rumble, where Nina, and Alex get into a little bit of a brawl, we'll call it, at the end of the show. This show I was also very excited to see because it featured the return of former international champion Jamie Hayter. It's been a hot minute since we saw her in Eve. What was it like seeing Jamie back in an Eve locker room?
It was so cool. So I think it's that reminder for there's a lot of girls on the show that are younger,
Yeah,
in their first few years of their career, and it's that reminder that if you do everything right, you bust your butt, like you work, like not just it in the gym or anything like that. You train, you study footage, you put passion into everything that you feel will help you in wrestling. That it can pay off, and you can become that superstar, and you can get to that level. Just like with Alex Windsor, she's getting an AW Ring of Honor, like she just main evented Ring of Honor in
yeah.
Australia. Like if you keep working and you push and you push and you don't take your foot off that gas, there are rewards. And I think it was nice for other people to see that, and see her come in. And obviously she's nice as anything. Obviously she's a lovely person.
Yeah.
Um, so to see that and to see that person who has this kind of stardom and come in, and it's a good incentive, I think, for people, to keep going because it is hard, you know.
Yeah, and it's the beauty though, because back in the day, if people were signed to say certain company, like going back to their roots or indies was like so unheard of. But now there's a lot of openness, so it's awesome to see people being able to go back to their roots, but then actually coming back and getting to work with the whole, like you said, there's a lot of new crop of talent in comparison to like 5, 6 years ago when she was last there. So I have to imagine that was really cool for you
Very,
and the newer girls will call them as well. But
yeah.
I have to ask too, in the spirit of women behaving badly, what is the most rebellious thing that you've ever done in your life?
I don't think I've done many of it. I used to do a lot of bad stuff when I was a kid. um, broke a lot of laws. I'm not going to say
Oh,
because
okay. Yeah, don't incriminate yourself. Yeah,
but,
yeah.
but yeah, it probably just breaking the law, not stupidly being a child, basically.
Okay. Well, so you have that women behaving badly spirit heading into this title match. Obviously, you're a little bit reformed now, like you said.
I try to be.
Um, but I think this is the perfect time to bring that edge, into this double title match, would you say?
Hell yeah, yeah. I think like a lot of people who are drawn in by Sexy Smitson, and they forget the origins of Skye Smitson.
Yeah.
I was very much known as the villainess for a reason.
Yeah.
Uh, there's no shortcut I won't take. There's nothing I won't do to get what I want, and I
Hmm.
want those titles. So it's plain and simple as that, And I'll say it to Dan: if he gets in my way and I have to go through him, I'll go through him. If I have to go through every
Yeah.
person that wants to get in my way, I'll do it. Because now it's personal. Now they've made it a vendetta, and now they've unlocked something inside me that I kept locked away for a while because I was being fun and I was having, a laugh with my best mate. But
Yeah.
sometimes you have to let that side of you out.
Time to go back to your roots, as we
Oh
said.
yeah, hundred
So
percent.
I'm looking forward to this villainess side of Skye Smitson coming back out. But also in that spirit, who would you say are some of your favorite fictional villainesses or villains?
I've always Harley Quinn's always won. I don't know why. Poison Ivy,
Yeah.
like I love Poison Ivy. So yeah, so I do love Catwoman as well. I'm revealing myself to be a bit of a nerd here, like
Hmm.
um like Halle Berry Catwoman as well. Like I don't know why it just was always in my brain, but yeah, I love like the anti heroes because I think that's just like a real representation. And like if you look
Yeah.
at Harley Quinn, she's basically like someone who's fallen so deeply in love that she's broken
Hmm.
and she's fractured her brain.
Hmm.
Um, but I think she's very real at the same time. Because we all have that part. We're all happy and not everything's great and the sun's shining, and then something happens and boom, it just everything
Hmm.
crashes in. So Harley Quinn's probably my favorite of all time.
I'm curious because a lot of wrestlers take like pop culture or like anime, Marvel, like pop culture references in and apply them to like their ring gears or their character. Do you have that at all? Like, when you're looking into your character and your ring gear, do you look to like pop culture or like outside of the wrestling realm for inspo?
Kind of.
Okay.
current gear I have is Venom inspired. Um, so the green set I got with the LAE, that was Poison Ivy inspired. And then I looked at it and I was like, oh, it kind of looks like the Venom gunge, the way it like curves around.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. So it's kind of like the way I always see it, especially with the red gear. My new red gear came out amazing, and I always see it as like it's the evil inside everyone, and it's like
Mhm.
wrapping around me, and like it, I never really get a chance to explain it, so it's good that I get to explain it here. So yeah, so that's where the people often ask like what the vines mean on my gear. That's what it means. It's like basically, if you look at it, it comes out of my waistband, goes up onto the side. So I've got like two like V's here, goes
Yeah.
up on the side, and it's basically like wrapping around me, kind of like the Venom gun wraps around. I can't remember the character's name. Eddie Brock, that's it. Who wraps around it as it wraps around him. It's kind of the same premise. That's the only real like inspiration from like pop culture I've ever taken from gear. Because yeah, like nothing else I can kind of. That's what I was able to translate onto paper.
Hmm.
Nothing else really works.
What are your general sources of inspo, or how, when you're envisioning your ring gear in general, what are your general sources of inspo?
Usually comics. I read a lot of comics. Um, so like if I see an image that like just strikes creativity in my brain, I'll just sit there and I'll try and like Photoshop something that makes sense.
Hmm.
Along with that, like a lot of other people's gear, like Bailey's gear always seems to like just trigger my imagination.
Hmm.
She's got some amazing like sets of gear, and I always think like, oh, maybe I can take that and use this in this part, use that in that part. And K-pop music videos for some reason. It's very weird for out, but they're so like eccentric and like over the
Hmm.
top, and they capture your imagination. So it just makes my brain start to like speed up a million miles per hour. So yeah, so those are like the three main that you know.
Are you a regular listener of K-pop music, or what is your music taste like?
It's very clustered. So it'll be like R&B, country music. I love country music.
Me too.
So
I'm
good.
such a country girl. Yeah.
Oh, it's the best. Like I had arm day today, and it was just country music all day, and I was just like, oh, this
Yeah.
is so good. K-pop, like old school '90s music as well. A lot of like Tupac. I love Tupac. Yeah, so it's like very clustered. The only thing I don't really listen to is like opera because
Oh,
it's or heavy music, heavy metal. It's just the screaming in my ears. It's
so
too much.
you're like literally the same as me. Like classical music for me is like good for like maybe falling asleep, but
Yeah,
like I don't reach for it, and I can't do screamo either. Like you said though, it's like feel like my eardrums are bleeding. So those are really like the only two that I do not listen to. I don't mind like classical or opera. It might be good to like fall asleep, some of it, but
yeah.
that's about it. So I'm very much like you, very variety based in there. So that's incredible. What was the last concert that you've been to?
Oh God, I think the last concert I went to was a Rihanna concert.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
I love Rihanna. She's so good. It was so good. I was just like every single performance was just like a 100 out of 10, and I was just like, this is amazing. This is
When was
brilliant.
this?
A couple of years ago now. Yeah,
Okay.
I can't remember exactly when, but it was in the O2. That's what I
We're
remember.
still waiting on new music from her. It's been years.
Getting ridiculous. I mean, we got Gaga bringing out new music, but still, we need Rihanna. Like, come on,
I
can't keep
know.
teasing us and teasing us. It's too much.
I will say I know she's been more so focused on like her makeup line is really good. So like I get it, she's other projects, but it's been too long since we've had any new Rihanna music.
Even just
Oh,
like a collab with like Bruno Mars or something. Like, give us
I
something.
agree.
Like, just something.
I agree. I also have ties to her because people sing Umbrella to me all the time because of my name. So
Ella.
like, yeah, so she's always tied to me. Obviously, shifting gears, we were talking about you kind of now being a vet in the locker room. You're going to be coming up on 13 years since you made your pro wrestling debut. How do you think you've grown as a person and as a competitor for these last almost 13 years?
I'd say I haven't, but I have massively. I think I'm a bit more accepting of like compliments now. I used to always hate compliments. I would be like,
I
oh,
I feel that.
they're like, "Oh, you're amazing." I'm like, not really, not by everyone's standards. But I think like I've realised that as well, being more welcoming with the girls. I try and take time to sit with everyone. I'm always happy
Yeah.
to offer feedback. Um, I like to think that people feel comfortable coming to me. In the same way that for me, Jetta was like a massive, massive help in making me believe I was good. In the run I had with the uprising, there was a point where I spoke to Dan and he's like, "Oh, what's your dream match?" And I was like, "Oh, Jetta." I was like, "Without a doubt." And he went, "What?" I went, "Yeah, Jetta." And he made it happen, and we had this match. And I remember her just afterwards, like gushing with like compliments for me. And it's think about
Mhm.
hearing someone you've had your dream match with tell you all
Yeah.
these things, that I think it causes like a metamorphosis or like a change inside me. And I was like, you know what, maybe I am good. Maybe I can start tooting my own horn, or maybe I can help other people. And I think that's an important part of like evolving. Um, and always being willing to like, I always try and adapt. I always add new moves, like try and not get stale, if you know what I mean. But I
Yeah.
think like the biggest thing that's changed in me is confidence. Like I actually believe what people tell me, and that I am good enough, which is a very weird thing for us to say, "Oh, I'm not good enough." But I think like you see so much in wrestling, there's so much like back talk. Like people say nice stuff, and then behind your back they're like
Yeah.
slagging you. And one of the things I've always been proud of is like people have come up to me and said, "I've never heard a bad word said about you." And I'm like, "Oh, maybe I am good. Maybe I'm, good at
Hmm.
what I do. I'm a good person as well." So like for me, it's the confidence side of things. Like I think you can always improve as a wrestler. I think like you never stop learning, which is a beautiful thing about wrestling. So like being on shows with people that are even haven't been wrestling as long as me, I always want feedback. So I think yeah, just confidence for me is the thing that I've improved on the most. Probably in ring skill, I'd say as well, and creating good gear.
Yeah, well, confidence and in-ring skill, I feel just in general, I think confidence in any profession comes with time as well. You know, when you're going in, you're green, you're still trying to find your footing, find out who you are, let
Yeah.
alone trying to, get the skills down and hone it. I feel like that comes with time as well. But now you're in that, just how Jetta was to you, you're now that vet and that's somebody that people look up to you. So how is that dynamic now being in locker rooms where you're considered the vet? And if, like you said, people have been coming to you, what advice do you pass on to them?
Usually, I'll always say to people, trust your own instinct.
Yeah.
Uh, a lot of people tend to second guess things, um, or they'll just like talk down about themselves. And I always say, don't you don't need everyone in this world will bring you down. You don't need to bring yourself down as well. Um, and just taking time. Some people are very nervous to come and ask for feedback from anyone. Like, so I always try and be encouraging with them and say, look, there's no such thing as like you're not disturbing my time, like you're not taking up my time, you're not causing me an issue. Just ask. If you want me to watch a match, just ask. If you want me to watch it back, just ask. Obviously, if I have the ability to, I will.
Yeah.
um but if I'm on right after you, it's probably not going to be possible. But I always say to them, like, I can watch it back. Like I have like pretty much every show that I'm on, I have the ability to watch it. But yeah, the main advice I say to them is ask for feedback, because what I don't see, someone else won't see, or what I see, someone won't see. What I don't see, someone will see. So there's always everyone has a different way of looking at things, and I was taught a certain way. So when I teach as well, I teach that way. So I notice certain things. But there's no such thing as too much feedback. 9 times out of 10, you get the same thing from every single person.
Yeah.
But you never know, that 10th person you go to might say, "Oh, this," which is different. Yeah, and just mainly trying to instill in them to be like confident in themselves and not to doubt themselves. Because it's a hard day and age, generation to grow up, I suppose. When you've got social media, you've got all this
Hmm.
stuff, and people are always trying to get in, personal information and find out personal stuff about you. There's, it's a lot of pressure. It's not just wrestling. It's like, especially for women, I think, like they're so people like to judge on looks, and like I've learned that through my career, and I've always said like don't hold someone's word on the internet as such like a massive thing, because that's probably some guy in his basement who's never been out of his basement or been to a
Yeah.
real show, so who cares if he thinks your lariat was a little bit off? Who cares? like you know so yeah, just like block the negativity, focus on yourself, and like decide where you want to go. I think is always a thing I say to people. Having your a dream is great, but have a realistic goal as well, because if you can hit a realistic goal, then your dream, you can get there a million times easier.
Mhm. Well, speaking of goals, obviously you are aiming to be the Eve champion and Eve international champion, but outside of those, what are some of your personal and professional goals for 2025?
I want to go to Japan. I think that's a massive thing for me.
Yeah.
Obviously, both of my tag partners have been there.
Yes.
I would love to go there with LA Taylor, because we're kindred spirits. We're very similar.
I love her. Yeah.
She's amazing, honestly. Such an amazing person. And keeps me sane most days and stops me doubting myself, which I need. Sometimes I just need someone to like slap me on the back of the head and go, Skye, stop it. And she's very much that for me.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think Japan and America are two of the big goals that I have. I want to go to America and wrestle um, anywhere really. I don't really know like the specific state. I do have like friends in Miami and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So who knows? We might start there. But yeah, America and Japan are my two goals. Yeah, I don't really make like goals for titles, because I think like
Mhm.
you know it's one of those things. If I'm destined for a title, I'm destined for a title. It's great, but it's not the be all and
True.
end all for me. My other goal was to get on RevPro again, and I've already done that. So thankfully,
So that brings up a big conversation then. We were talking about Jamie Hayter earlier. You have somebody else in AEW, Mercedes Moné, who now has the RevPro Undisputed British Women's Championship. They already advertised her. I believe the show is April 20th. That's a big opportunity. She laid out a tweet like, who are some top names in the UK scene? You're obviously in the UK scene. What does Mercedes Moné holding this title mean for you and like the rest of the UK scene right now?
I think it's an opportunity for exposure and
Mhm.
an opportunity to prove that, in many, like most people's opinion, the British scene is the best it's ever been, and better than most scenes. And I think it's an opportunity for people like Kanji, Rio. Obviously, Rio has a lot of exposure behind her, but I
Yes.
personally think Kanji is insanely underrated. Insanely, one of the best performers I've ever
Agreed.
watched or met in my life. Lizzie Evo, Mercedes Blaze, obviously Alex Windsor, Sapphire Reed, like Nina Samuels. Even it's opportunity. I think what like to show a different community of wrestling, these people and what they can do. Um, and so Sapphire's been to America already, but I think like she would really excel like wrestling someone like Mercedes, who could open the door for her in AEW and anywhere she'd want to go, really, Japan, whatever. But I think it's a good opportunity. Fingers crossed I get it, but like if I don't, I'm gonna be happy for whoever it is, because I think it's such a great opportunity to shine a light on someone that doesn't get that much of an opportunity.
Yeah, and maybe, I mean, she'll be coming to the UK eventually. Maybe we'll get some UK representatives over in the States like yourself. Obviously, so besides Mercedes Moné, you mentioned, you've been wanting to face talent. Actually, she's new to Japan Strong Women's Champion too, so she kind of would cross off both of yours, Japan and
Yeah.
America. Who are some other competitors from the Japan or US scene that you maybe have your eyes on?
I've always wanted to wrestle Miko. I don't think that'll ever happen, but I think that'd be a
She's
great match.
retiring in
Yeah,
April.
no,
Ah,
it's not going to happen. It's not going to line up, unfortunately. Um, Other names, who can I think of? Masha Slamovich.
yeah.
I met her at Eve and she was so nice. And I remember then watching her in the ring and thinking, oh my God, that's amazing. She's so talented and she's one of those people that oozes charisma. You just
Yeah.
look at her like, oh, like I feel drawn to watch her. It's weird. Good but weird, you know. Momo is I've experienced wrestling Momo a little bit in Eve.
Mm.
Um, got beat up quite a bit. That was painful. Um, but yeah, to have singles would be great. Who else? Charles Mason. That's a really weird name to throw out there. I love Charles Mason. I just think like such a unique character in comparison to like characters you have these days, and
Yeah.
so like athletically gifted as well. I think that would be a great test. Who else? There's so many. Sunny Kiss.
Yeah.
Sunny Kiss. Oh my god. I would just be in awe. It would just be a match where I'd just be like, you're so amazing. Just do whatever you want. It's fine. You're amazing. I'm okay with it. It's fine. Um yeah, my ultimate dream match has always been Melina as well. I don't think that had
Yeah.
happened. But, you know, Melina, Naomi, who I share a birthday with, which is amazing. But yeah, those are the main names. But I think Charles Mason, Masha
Mm.
Slamovich. I would have said Jordan Grace, but I'm terrified of that one. Like, just she's a unit, and like I think she
Yeah.
would
The Juggernaut
just
with a
destroy
nickname
me.
like the Juggernaut. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So,
understand.
but yeah, so my main three would be Masha, Charles Mason, and Sonny Kiss. Those would be
I would
the top
love
three.
I
Yeah,
would love to see sexy Skye and Sunny Kiss, especially.
that would be
That
amazing.
I think would be magic.
It would be pure magic. It would be like viral, I think.
Now, closing things out, when this comes out, it will be Women's History Month. I know you've mentioned Nightshade and Ellie Taylor. Who are some other women inside or outside of wrestling that inspire or empower you?
Um, Lana Austin, which people think I hate her, but let's pull the wall back. I love that woman to bits.
Yes.
Her, LA Taylor, and Nightshade are three women who are very important in my life personally, and who are very instrumental in making me believe in myself. Um, I'm not the most confident person. Sometimes I'm very self-deprecating and like I put myself down a lot. And there are three people that have always, pushed me to just be okay with who I am. Like being gay and being open with that was always like a really not scary thing, but like there's that risk of like being put in that box, or you're just a gay wrestler instead of being
Yeah.
a wrestler who happens to be gay, and
Hmm.
I was very scared of that. And when I joined the Lana Austin experience, it was a lot of Lana telling me to shut up when I would put myself down. She's like, I'm gonna hit you now. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm great. It's okay. But like a lot of them continuously doing that, like every single day when I have bad days and I'll message them, they bring me up, and they're just like fundamental in keeping me going and making me believe how good I am. And I think you need people like that in your life, because it's great strangers telling you you're good, but when it's people that you actually have a lot of love for and who are like your best friends, it it hits different. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, they might be telling the truth, kind of thing. But yeah, they're three very important people in my life, that inspire me to like keep going and never let me think a bad word about myself, or never really. Well, they threaten me a lot, to be fair, but usually to just make sure I'm staying on the right track and not letting like the bad thoughts get hold of me, and telling me that you're perfectly fine with everything that you're doing. You don't need to be so down on
Hmm.
yourself and put so much pressure on yourself. Um, so they're three very important people. And my nan is amazing. She's a lovely woman. She abuses me as well, but it's fine. It's
It
it's
it
it,
seems
it,
that negative reinforcement works for you.
it does, yeah. Sometimes Lana said this. She's like, I've worked you out. Sometimes a good slap is all you need, and I'm like, yeah. Sometimes, you know,
Shout out to the Lana Austin experience.
yeah,
Despite it all, how it maybe played out.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, that was also an amazing time too, and then obviously the
great.
payoff. But before we let you go, Skye, please let the listeners know where they can find you online and support you.
So you can find me on Instagram at Skye Smitson. SKYESMITSON. And same on X and everywhere else, basically, because I'm not original. I don't like to make up names. Just keep it with my name. Simple.
Easy enough
But
to
yeah,
keep track of.
yeah.
Too many lots of social medias nowadays too, so
Too,
like I
too
get
many,
it.
yeah. A lot. A lot.
Skye, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.